Okay, so we're starting with the unit of matrices. So what a matrix is used to store information in a set of square brackets. So what they mean is we're going to see like these square brackets, and we might have numbers. It can be letters. It doesn't really matter, and it doesn't have to be whole numbers. So there's a matrix. So and it's those numbers inside the matrices. So here I've got, say, 4. Each one of them is called an element. So in that matrix I just drew up, I have 4 elements. Okay, so why we need these matrices is a lot for computer programming, so a computer needs it put into a digital sort of way. So this is the way matrices, and why you have to learn how to do it, because it'll come up in, career paths down at university. All right, so let's have a look. So here we've got a matrix. So you can see here, they're calling this matrix A, okay? And they're saying that it's showing me on Friday and Saturday how many, I'm going to say this is a shop, okay? So how many shirts, jeans, and belts were sold at this shop on those particular days. So you can see in the matrix, so we've got these square brackets here. And it's got, if we look at this, how many elements do we think this one has? Yep, good. So elements equals 6. All right. So what we often refer to the matrices, we talk about how many rows they have. So here you can see, remember, so the rows are what goes across. So we've got the rows. And then they'll also talk about the columns. So the columns are when you go down like that. Okay, so if you look at this matrix, it has 3 columns and it has 2 rows. So when we refer to a matrix, we often say the order of the matrix, and the order of the matrix is the size of it. Okay, so if you look here, we always say with the size, we're always going to say the rows first by the number of columns. All right, so we're always going to say rows first. So if you look at this one's up here, this little example, if you looked at it, its order is 2 because it has 2 rows. And we say it's like a 2 by, so that the cross or the multiplication symbol is used to say it. So we say it's a 2 by 3. So here you're saying, so we've got here, this is the rows, and that's telling me the columns. Yep. All right. So we know that the order is always going to be rows by columns. So, and if we keep moving down, all right, and we said the element of the matrix. So if a matrix, we can see how many elements, but we need to know a way of finding a particular element in a matrix. So what they tell you, so first of all, they label the matrix. So you can see they've decided to call this matrix, they call it matrix A. They just give it a capital letter. Generally, they'll tell you, and they've just randomly picked A. They're going to call this matrix A. So if we think about it, looking at this matrix A, what's the order of matrix A? Let's have a look. What can you tell? We know how to do that now. So how many rows does this matrix A have? 2. And how many columns does it have?
3.
Yeah, so it's a 2 by 3. All right. So when they talk about, they want you to go to a particular element, what they do is first they'll use a little letter. They're going to say little a. So that means you're in the matrix A, you're trying to find an element. And what they'll do is they will put a number, they'll say, they put the row first. So they want me to go to row 2, and then they might say, then they'll say the column. So when you're asked, what is element A2, 3 or A2, 3, you go to row 2. So here's row 2, and you go to column 3 here. And so there, the element, that A23 is number 1. There's a 1 there. So there's another couple of examples there. So they had element A13, that means row 1, column 3. So you can see they said that was 4. And then in the next one, we've got A2, 2. So row 2, column 2. So that's in the 7. All right, so let's keep going. So matrix C shows the number of men and women working at 3 different departments on an organization. So let's go through and answer these questions. So first of all, it's asked me, what's the order of the matrix? So remember, order, what goes first? Rows. How many rows do we have? 3. And then how many columns do we have? Yeah, columns is 2. So it's a 3 by 2. Okay, obviously this matrix is matrix C. What information is given by little c 2, 1? So that means we need to go to row 2, column 1. So what number is that? Yeah. So it's 11. Now, it says, though, it is 11, but the question actually says, what is that information? So what is 11 in this scenario? 11 what? What does 11 represent? Yeah, so you say, when they say what information is given, you should say 11 men in legal. Does that make sense? So in this company, this organization, they've got 11 men working in legal. All right. Which element gives the number of men working in sales? So it'd be little c because it's matrix C. Where is sales? It's in which row? Row 3. And which one's men? Column what? 1. So it'd be C3, 1. Okay, and then how many women work in all 3 department stores? So what would you do there? So how many women work in all 3 departments? Sorry? Yep, you do. That's all you do is you just add them up. So 32 plus 18, what's that? 50 plus 41 is 91. Done. Okay, so we now know what a matrix is. It holds data or information and in those square brackets. Now we can get like different types of matrices just so that, and we need to know what they are because sometimes they might say represent this data in, say for an example, a row matrix. So a row matrix only has one single row. So it'll be only has one single row. So when if you were writing the order for a row matrix, it'll always be a 1 by something. Yeah? Because that's the order of a row matrix. It's always going to be a 1 by something. So it'll have, so they said the Friday sales for the market could be represented as, if you look up at the other one, a 1 by 3. So a column matrix only has a single column. So when you write the order for a column matrix, it's always going to be something by 1 because there's always going to be that 1 column. So if you want to do, maybe put an example. So say here's a row matrix, so here's an example of a row matrix, say 1, 2, 3. I'm just making them up. And an example of a column matrix, it's going to look like this. It's just a column. It could look like that. Okay? When we have a square matrix, what we're going to say is the same. You're going to have the same rows as columns. So what you'll see is whatever number is there in the rows will be the same number in there. So say, for example, if we do if I do this one, see how it's a 2 by 2. Or I could do there, that's a 3 by 3. So that's a square matrix. So they're square. Okay? So pretty thing. And a 0 matrix, we just need to know every element is 0. So that's pretty easy. And there's some examples. It can be any order. So let's practice writing underneath these ones what the order are so we can remember. So if you look at this first one here, what's the order of that one? How many rows has it got? And how many columns has it got? It's got one column. So it's a 1 by 1. What's another name for that one? It's a square. Good. What about this next one? How many rows has it got? How many rows? 2. And how many columns? 2. Is that also a square matrix? What about this one? This one has 1 row and 2 columns. What type of matrix is that one? A row matrix. This one has 2 rows, 1 column. So it's a column matrix. And this last one has a 2 rows and 3. It's just a 2 by 3. Nothing special about that one. Okay, so the last bit in our notes here is got instructions for putting matrices into the calculator. So it's a bit blurry there on the video, but we can see now I've got the calculator app. So this is you guys with your calculator. So if you click home, you're on this front page here on your calculator. So when we do matrices, we just go to a normal, what we call a normal calc page, which is this gray one down here, the plus or minus. I want you to make sure that you do use a page like that, okay? Some kids click, if I go back, they click this A, that if you press A up here and you end up on it's called scratch pad. So if I just show you, if you click A, it says scratch pad on the top. You don't want to be using one of them. It doesn't use every command and it doesn't save the page. Sometimes you might not want the whole thing to go. You want it to go back and say, no, miss, something's gone wrong. Can you look at it? I can't look at it if it's on a scratch pad. If it's on a document page, we can look at it, all right? So you want to be using that. So we always want to use that. So if we go to a document page, now to set up matrices, just to show you how, we'll go over this next lesson a bit more because I said you didn't need your calcs today. All right, so to set up a matrix, where the button is right next to the 9. If you click on that one, now you'll see there's a few options in this second row here. They give you a few quick keys. So the first one here, if I click on that gives me a 2 by 2, a square matrix. Why they give you these ones, and now if I just click in it, now you can press the tab and that will take you through all the elements. So that's often a lot quicker to go tab, tab, tab to write them out. Okay, so I have created a 2 by 2. They have a square one common because you use it a lot. All right, so then if I press the 9, they've got here's a row matrix, a 1 by 2. So that's another one that you might use. So I'm going to put some elements in there. So I put 8, I'm going to tab, press 9, and then you can just move outside it. When I press enter, it just drops it there. So say I wanted to reuse this top one, that square one again, what you can do is press your up key and see how it starts highlighting. Now say I want to use that one again, because it's highlighted, I can just press enter and see how it dropped it on there again. Yeah, so that's why you can do that. So that's a good thing to know. All right, if you have a look, there's another little column matrix next to it. Now the big one here, it has an example of a 3 by 3, but if you click on it, that's where you can create your own. So say we had before a 2 by 3, I click OK, and there I've got. So if I was putting numbers in, I can just tab through it. So I'm just making these numbers up like so, and then press enter. If I needed to use that again, because say you've got a whole heap of questions on this using the same matrix, you could just highlight it and press enter and it drops it down there into your thing. All right, so that's what we're going to do. All right, we're going to start